morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, I am showing you a new Gourgeist deck. Because I think Gourgeist might be good now. Now, I do often ask you guys for feedback. I do listen to all of your feedback. Well, on Twitter and YouTube, I listen to your feedback. There are some forums where well, let's just say people aren't as nice, so I don't pay as much attention. But some of the feedback I've been getting over the past couple of weeks is, well, see, if you're going to show us Decklist in Japan at the moment, well, please bear in mind that the format Japan are in at the moment, we are never going to have, because when these new cards come out in Japan, we are going to be post-rotation. And I went, good point. So now, whenever I do these Japanese deck list analyses, what I'm going to do is let you know what the deal is in terms of how good this deck is likely to be post-rotation and what changes need to be made in order to be able to play it post-rotation. So today, we're going to be looking at Gourgeist. And as some of you have no doubt noticed, Gourgeist is rotating. Gourgeist is out in Crimson Invasion. We are rotating Ultra Prism on, and Crimson Invasion was the set before Ultra Prism. That doesn't mean we shouldn't look at this Gourgeist deck. I think this could be a really good deck in Expanded. I think after Expanded, it's not going to be good enough because it's rotating out of Standard. Sorry about that. But I do think that with a few little changes, honestly not that many changes, what you want to do is add in your A-Spec trainer card like Computer Search, for instance, and any other changes you would usually make to an Expanded deck, and you're off and rolling. And honestly, there are two cards that we need to add into a Gourgeist deck, and I think that turns it into a genuinely viable contender. I say two, it's actually 3 or 4. So let's remind ourselves what Gourgeist actually does. It attacks for just a double colorless energy, so even if Gourgeist wasn't rotating out, double colorless energy would. And actually, something that's really important to note here, the other energy you're using is counter energy, and unfortunately that is rotating too. You could consider triple acceleration energy, but I don't think you really need to because you've got double colorless and you've got counter. But do bear in mind that that is there as an option. It is one that you can use. So Gourgeist for a double colorless energy does 10 damage, but before doing damage, you may discard any number of Pokemon tool cards from your Pokemon, and this does 40 more damage for each card you discarded in this way. Cool. And honestly, ladies and gentlemen, I've said that there are up to 4 cards that are really making this good. But let's be super clear, there is one card that makes Gourgeist amazing nowadays. It's U-Turn Board. U-Turn Board is awesome. U-Turn Board reduces the retreat cost of the Pokemon it is attached to by 1 colorless energy. But far more importantly, if it is discarded from the field of play, then it just goes straight back to your hand. Just see where we're going with this, ladies and gentlemen? You discard U-Turn Board with Gourgeist, and it goes back to your hand. And then next turn, as long as you've got 4 Pokemon in play, you can just attach 4 U-Turn Board, discard them all with Gourgeist, they go back to your hand, and then next turn you discard 4 U-Turn Board. And then they go back to your hand, and then you attach them all, and you're basically guaranteeing 170 damage a turn. Now that's 170 damage a turn before you muck about with other Pokemon tools. That is starting off at 170 damage per turn. That's enough to KO Dedenne. That's enough to KO Tapu Lele. That is enough to KO a Mewtwo and Mew, because they're weak to Psychic. It is a lot. And that largely is the new Gourgeist. The new Gourgeist is just let's abuse U-Turn Board. Because the great news is, even if your opponent plays something like a Field Blower to get rid of some of your U-Turn Board, they just go back to your hand and you can attach it. Oftentimes with Gourgeist, your opponent can try and clear all of your tools beforehand. They can't do that here. Now they can still use stuff like Judge, for instance, and like Marshadow, and that will unfortunately force you to shuffle your hand into your deck, draw a new hand of 4 cards, or Reset Stamp that gives you a new hand equal to your remaining prizes, and that will suck after an attack, because you've got a handful of U-turn board. Sorry about that. But one of the other things I love about this nowadays is Zebstrika. I think Zebstrika makes a big, big difference. Now, this is a Zebstrika from Lost Thunder. So why am I getting excited about it now? Well, part of the reason is, pre-U-turn board, I don't think Gourgeist is good enough. The U-turn board is coming out in Unified Minds, and I think that is the thing that is going to all of a sudden make Gourgeist good enough. I think that is the big determining factor here. But Zebstrika goes through your deck super quickly. Discard your hand, draw 4 cards. Gives you that draw power, and firstly you need to draw into your tools, secondly you need to draw into your special energy. That's pretty important. Now, in terms of other Pokemon here, we'll get to the other cards that we really need in a minute. In terms of other Pokemon here, we got a couple of Jirachi. I mean, look, we see Jirachi in a lot of decks nowadays. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck, find a trainer, put it in your hand, Jirachi goes to sleep. Simple as that. It's really good. And of course, we are playing a couple of escape board as well as U-turn board, so that you can use it. To be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, so that you can actually retreat Jirachi when he's asleep. Unfortunately, U-turn board won't work, at least not initially, because Jirachi will be asleep. We got multiple stage 1 lines, so obviously we're playing a Ditto Prism Star, and we're also playing 1 copy of Absol. Increases the retreat cost of basic Pokemon by 1. It's basically a Jirachi counter. It's good against Tag Team GXs, but I'll be honest with you, it's largely a Jirachi counter. And then 1 Tapu Koko. You don't have a great turn 1 option here, because you've got to wait a turn to evolve up into Gourgeist. This is your turn 1 option. You use double colorless anyway. Plus, it's really good as a free retreater after a KO, although you do have multiple U-turn board and escape board. And it's also really good just for bringing some other Pokemon into range. Now, we've talked about the energy, 4 double colorless, 3 counter energy, it makes sense. In terms of the trainers, there are a couple that I really adore here. And in terms of tools, I'm looking at you, bodybuilding dumbbells. I adore bodybuilding dumbbells. You pop it on a stage 1, you get 40 extra HP. And that puts Gourgeist from 120 to 160. And that's huge. Pikachu and Zekrom generally hits 150. Oh no! Now they're not getting a KO. It means that Zapdos, before it would have to use 2 to go up to 140 to Electro Power, now they're having to use 3 Electro Power to get from 80 up to 170 to get a KO. They're only playing 4. The vast majority of decks don't play Electro Charger. And what this does is it throws off the numbers for a lot of the best decks in the format. Yeah, sure, Reshiram and Charizard are going to get very easy 1-hit KOs. But you're 2-hit KOing them for 3 prizes. They're 1-hit KOing you for 1 prize. I am absolutely fine with this exchange, ladies and gentlemen. That seems fine to me. And the other card which I think really pushes this card into potentially great territory now is Power Plant. Power Plant turns off the abilities of EX and GX Pokemon. You'll notice that doesn't affect you. But it does stop Tapu Lele, it does stop Dedenne, it does stop Zoroark, etc. This is really good. Oh, that Mewtwo and Mew I mentioned earlier? Yeah, it's not enough you're hitting them for weakness, you're also turning off their ability. And I think that Gourgeist with U-turn board is something we need to look seriously at. But then you add in bodybuilding dumbbells to throw off the numbers and Power Plant to slow down other people. And what you've got is a really, really good card. A really good deck. Where you're 1-hit KOing a lot, but 2-hit KOing everything. It's way more consistent than it's ever been before. You're throwing your opponent off of the key numbers and slowing them down. This is why I think we need to take a look at Gourgeist. Now, in terms of tools, we're just playing 4 U-turn board, 3 bodybuilding dumbbells, 2 escape board. We've mentioned all of those. But we're also playing a couple of adventure bag, which will just help us to search out our tools. That's pretty important. In terms of Pokemon search, we've got a mixture of Ultra Ball and Nest Ball. Ultra Ball searches anything, Nest Ball gets your basics. Puts them straight onto the bench, but that doesn't really matter because none of your Pokemon have when you play them abilities. Many of them have abilities, but not just when you play them all the time. And then in terms of supporters here, we've got a mixture of Lily and Cynthia as draw supporters. As you would expect, they're the best ones in the format. We've got 2 copies of Guzma to drag Pokemon off the bench and also act as a switch. Particularly good in a 2-hit KOing deck such as this. We'd like to play more, we don't have room. And 1 copy of Judge as a bit of disruption. Your opponent judging you when you've got a handful of tools you want to attach next turn is bad. You judging your opponent when you've already got your tools on the field and they don't have a good response, now that's a lot of fun. I think it's time to start taking Gourgeist seriously. It is slightly upsetting that we're never going to have a standard format with both Gourgeist and U-turn board legal, but I think this is a deck that can stand up in Expanded. It's fast. It's consistent. It's got some tricks. I really like this. I'm certainly going to be testing this in Expanded, and I think you should too. Thank you very much to all the lovely people who gave me the feedback about being super clear about when we can play this deck and the changes that need to be made. As we go forward, whenever I show you a Japanese deck list, I will make very clear how good it's going to be after rotation and what changes need to be made. For now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to know what you think about this deck, though please do bear in mind, we'll have to be expanded by the time it comes out. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where we talk about a whole bunch of games that don't even have any Pokemon in. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.